Our second live broadcast of the day. We've got Allie here. She's from the Concord Monitor newspaper, here to feature and interview me and do a feature on CB Gitty. Just did a tour of the whole place, and what we want to do now is do this live broadcast. She's asked for a little bit of a lesson on how to play cigar box guitar. You said, what did you say? What did you say you play? You play some instruments.
I played the piano, and I just started playing the banjo.
The 5-string banjo.
The 5-string
like
banjo.
Earl Scruggs style finger
exactly.
rolls.
So these 3 strings are totally foreign.
Yeah, we were doing a little bit of practicing before we went live, and you said first time ever strumming an instrument.
Yeah. So you have to bear with me here. I'm not like the experts.
Well, the real experts are probably watching out there, hopefully. So
this will be painful for them.
Yeah. So what we're going to try to do is the basic ZZ Top Lagrange style progression. So we start, and maybe people out there want to play along if you don't know this. You start. This is an open G. They're both open G, GDG tuned cigar box guitars, 3-string. So you start with that open G chord, give it a good strong strum, and you kind of get the rhythm going. And then we're going to add into that to get the sound we're looking for. We're going to go from the 3rd fret to the 5th fret with the slide. Ready?
Oh, try with the slide.
And honestly, that's pretty much the whole song, Lagrange by ZZ Top. There's a bit of singing thrown in, but it's the open, 3rd, 5th, and back to open. So that's the lesson. We'll play a little bit more a little bit later.
Yeah.
I think I got a couple of questions to throw at me.
I know. My day job, the questions.
So you said it's like I'm interviewing you. That's weird.
I know, right?
She normally Concord, New Hampshire is about an hour away from where we're at here at CB Gitty.
Yeah.
It's the capital of
is.
New Hampshire. And you said you normally cover the State House.
Yeah, I normally cover the State House. So it's nice to get a break from lawmakers and politicians.
How'd you get assigned to this?
I got lucky.
To this story?
A Friday afternoon escaping the State House.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet there's a lot of people escaping the State House this Friday afternoon.
Yeah. So I came because we're really interested in the business and the whole movement of cigar box guitars. So I'm wondering, how did you get into this? How did you even find out about this specific craft?
Well, it's a good question. I feel like I've told this story a lot of times, but it's still fun to tell. A friend of mine, Dan Caldwell, he and his wife Laurel, who now works here at CB Gitty, took a trip to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, back in the summer of 2008. And when they came back, they brought a 1-string beer can banjo for me, because they knew I was into music, into playing instruments. I think I'd gotten into the mandolin and the tenor banjo at that time. So they thought a banjo would be a good gift. Well, I took the banjo, played a few notes on it, picked out a little ditty, and looked at it and said, well, heck, I could probably build one of these myself. And got on the internet, started looking for banjos, and there really wasn't much at that time, back in 2008. Now you can search for banjo and find all sorts of stuff. But then there wasn't much, but somehow I made the leap from banjos to cigar box guitars.
Yeah.
And there wasn't, honestly, it wasn't all that much about cigar box guitars at the time, but there was a site that Shane Spiel had created as a community for people into this, a much smaller community back then. He had created it on Yahoo Groups, and then later he founded CigarBoxNation.com, and this is Cigarbox Nation Television, I should say, which has become and remains the biggest community worldwide of people into building and playing homemade instruments. So from that original banjo, found cigar box guitars, built my first, built a few more, got into meeting some people on the websites who were also into it, and figured out that I could buy fret wire in bulk, cut it up into smaller lots, and resell it on eBay at a pretty small profit, but that profit could help fund my own cigar box guitar building hobby, so that my wife wouldn't Gave me quite so much trouble about it. And from there, it was really interacting with the people in the cigar box guitar community who would say, boy, it'd be nice if you could find a supply for cheap tuners, cheap machine heads that we could use. Because back in those days, there were only a couple of people, a couple of companies selling this stuff, and it all seemed way too expensive.
Yeah.
So I found a manufacturer of tuners and started bringing those in and selling them, and then they'd say, boy, I wish you could find these brass grommets that we like to put in sound holes. And so I found a supplier for those, started selling those, and that's kind of how it's grown over the years, finding either someone giving an idea of you should carry this, or just looking at what's out there and saying, well, you know, we've got gold knobs, we should probably have chrome knobs too, and just growing the product line like that. So it's really been a process of accumulation, of just slowly adding more and more things that can be used not just for cigar box guitars, but other homemade instruments, conventional guitars, and some other crafts and woodworking stuff. So it's grown, I don't want to say on its own, but in a way it kind of has. It's been a team effort.
So you mentioned that cigar box guitars have been around for a long time. What's fueling the new movement now and sort of the resurgence of, you know, kind of found instruments?
Well, that's a great question, and I don't think anybody's entirely sure, like, why? Why now? Why has it grown so quickly and so fast? I think there is a resurgence of do-it-yourself, people wanting to do their own projects, whether it's electronics or music or home repair or woodworking. So the resurgence of the larger do-it-yourself movement, the maker movement, with Make Magazine and the maker fairs that have popped up all around the country, coupled with, when it comes to cigar box guitars, I think lately there's been a trend towards looking back, towards a more primitive, simpler time, more rustic roots type, not just instruments, but music and ways of doing things. So I think do-it-yourself and this kind of looking back to a simpler, more rustic time contributes. But really what, in my opinion, jump-started this modern cigar box guitar movement is the work of Shane Spiel, on whose Facebook page we're broadcasting this. Almost 25 years ago, while researching the history of some of the old bluesmen down in the Mississippi Delta, he came across some accounts of how when they were kids, they either built their own guitar or their daddy built them a guitar out of an old cigar box and a stick and a piece of broom wire, and that was the instrument that they played their first songs on and got their first tunes out of. Well, Shane found this in regards to Carl Perkins, Sonny Boy Williamson. There's stories that Muddy Waters and B.B. King and some of the biggest names in the blues all started on this sort of instrument. And so he started researching cigar box guitars. Now this was the early 90s, and there wasn't much of an internet. There was no Google. But he found enough information, found some old plans, built his first guitar. And from then on, he has been the biggest evangelist of cigar box guitars, ceaselessly playing them himself in concert as a performing musician, and just promoting and spreading the word to as many people as he could reach about these instruments and why they are so cool to build and play. And so really we're here today talking about these things primarily because of Shane and his work.
So why do you play the cigar box guitars? I mean, what do you think is the point of, what makes this different than playing a guitar that you would buy, pre-made by one of the major companies?
Well, certainly I don't speak against factory-made, conventional guitars. I don't call them real guitars, because to me this is a real guitar just as much as any other, but conventional guitars made by Fender and Gibson and all of the big names, I don't speak badly of them. You can get sounds out of a Martin acoustic or a Fender Telecaster that you're never going to get out of this. And you shouldn't worry about that, because you can get sounds out of this that you'll never get out of that Martin or that Fender. And if this is the sound you're looking for, if what you need, if this is what makes you tick, then this is where you get it. Why I think it's special, why cigar box guitars are special, is because I believe deeply, it's kind of become my personal mission and the mission of CB Gitty, this company. I believe that spreading the word that anyone anywhere can build their own instrument and make music on it is the most important thing. And that spark, that joy, that excitement when you build your first one or your 1,000th one, and you get it done, you get it strung up, and you give it that first strum, and you hear what this thing you made can do, and how it sounds, and maybe you pick out your first little tune on it. That excitement and that joy is, for me, it's never gone away. And like when I finished this upright bass earlier this week, or the time clock guitar back there, I felt it. When I got that strung up and gave it that first thump, I'm like, yeah, I did it. You know, it worked. It worked. I had no idea if it would work, but it does. That idea that anybody, anywhere can do it, that it doesn't have to be, a guitar doesn't have to be handed down from an ivory tower at C.F. Martin, it really brings it back to the roots of what music is and why it's important. It brings it back to the roots for that anybody can do it. So for me, that's the real key. That's the crux of the matter.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Are you thinking about building one of your own?
I should.
If you're already onto the banjo, you're 3/4 of the way there.
That's just one last thing. What are the essential things that you need for any one of these?
Not much, thankfully. You need a stick, 3 strings, or 2, or 1, or 4, or 20, and a box. And really beyond that, there are no rules. There are no requirements. There is no right way to build a cigar box guitar. There's a 1,000 right ways, or a million right ways. People are discovering new right ways to build these things every day.
Cool. Because
they just try something and see if it works. And if it doesn't, well, either fix it or throw that one away and start a new one, you know? But really, for it to be a cigar box guitar, and even that's negotiable. Do you even need a real cigar box? Not really. Use a silverware box or make your own box. Doesn't matter. You need some strings. You can use regular guitar strings, or you can use, like on this bass, I use stainless steel threaded braided wire, but you can use broom wire or whatever you've got. For tuners, hardware here, you can use conventional guitar tuners, or you can use eye bolts, or you can use carved wooden pegs like on a violin, or some other crazy method. On more primitive instruments like diddly bows, basically, I don't have one in here unfortunately, but they make them out of a length of 2x4 with 2 nails. You wrap your wire tight around each end and then slide old medicine bottles under it and push them in until the string gets tight, and then you play it with a slide and a drumstick.
Oh, cool.
So the things you need are very few, thankfully.
Yeah, definitely.
And really, if you want to work at it, you can scavenge most of them or salvage most of them. An old piece of wood, a cigar box that you find, and some old bolts or something. So yeah, pretty low entry requirements when it comes to making these things.
And what's this one out of the one that you just finished, the upright bass?
Oh, the bass? We were showing this off earlier, so some of you may have seen it, but this used a wash tub, a regular metal wash tub, galvanized as the body, a piece of reclaimed plywood as the soundboard. This was the side of a packing crate. I think it might have been the one our laser cutter came in. The bridge is part of an old church pew that I took apart a couple of years ago. Faucet handle as the tailpiece, old piece of ladder rail for the neck. That's the side of an old wooden ladder. Piece of factory flooring maple for the fingerboard. And the result is a playable bass. I've been having fun learning it.
Cool. Very cool.
But, okay. Well, thanks. I'd like to thank you for tuning in. I know of 2 broadcasts in one day. It's Friday before holiday weekend, but thought it was a good opportunity to talk a little bit, play a little bit.
Yeah.
If you you don't mind, we could play them out here.
Yeah.
I think I've gone out of...
Have you? Yeah, why don't you play a song? Do you have like a standard?
That was my standard. That one.
Sorry.
I'm not a big slide guitar player, but could do basically the reverse of that. We were doing the, which goes open 3 to 5. The reverse of that is going 3 to 5. And that's kind of the Muddy Waters riff there. I can't talk and play at the same time. So you're still just using open strumming, 5th fret, 3rd fret, and back to open. So if you do it one way, do it the other way. So there's 2 simple blues riffs. So all of the people out there who always like to say, oh, I just build them, I can't play them, I can't play them, I can't play them, you have no excuse. Start playing them. Open, 3, 5, open.
Cool.
All right. Well, Allie, thank you for coming by.
Thank you so much. It was
Hope
great
I
to meet
answered
you.
all of the questions that you had,
definitely.
and hopefully,
I know, I'll keep playing.
yeah, keep on strumming. So, thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend.